our last demo, we did some chair work. Did you like it?
I loved it. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It felt so nice, and it was just wonderful to learn and to realize what I'm doing and that I can fix it.
Fix it. We all want to fix it. And the other thing everybody wants is I want to keep it like this. But the important part is to remember what we call the means whereby. How did it become like that? How did you get that experience is the question to ask yourself. That's how you rebuild it. You don't go looking for the feeling that you got inside your body. You reproduce the means whereby you got that feeling, and that's how you get back there. So you got to reproduce it. So right now you're tightening your arms. I'm doing
it, that's right.
So now you just pause. Remember, we felt the ceiling with our heads. You allowed your arms to hang.
The awareness.
That's right. And you gave yourself the time to do it?
Yes.
And remember the other important part? What did you engage? It lives in you.
What did I engage?
Yes.
My brain.
Exactly.
The thinking.
Oh,
and to remember the thinking.
Engage the brain, engage the thinking. Very, very important step if you want to change habits and patterns and so on. You've got to engage your brain in the correct manner. And then do you remember what was the next piece of it? It began with the word A, and you just spontaneously came up with that word to describe what you did with your arms. Do you remember it?
Awareness.
Awareness is the word with an A, but it was a slightly different word, and you just used it.
Amazing. Okay, let's see.
Allowing.
It
was
correct.
Remember, yeah. So remember the sensation of allowing came from just going quiet and calm, didn't it?
Yes.
It did.
Just allowing it to happen.
And so that's one of the reasons we use the table. Because the chair work, believe it or not, is the most difficult part of the Alexander technique. Now comes the easy part where you get to lie on the table and I move you around, and you're going to allow me to move you around on the table.
That would be wonderful. I am happy to do that.
Okay, then hop on. Yeah, very good. Swing the feet that way. There we go. All right, so I'll get you set up. The first thing I need to do is get you aligned on the table because, of course, you aren't, but you will be in a moment. Adjust the head so that your chin isn't sticking up in the air. And see, that probably feels just a little strange, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And meanwhile, that's the neck being released. You see, you're carrying a lot of habitual tension in your neck. And the problem with that is it blocks, that habitual tension blocks sensation, kinesthetic sensation and awareness about what's outside you from coming in. Once you start to release those habitual patterns, you become more able to sense the other.
I can see
because
that.
The internal noise has quietened down.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, allow. Thank you. Allow. This is quite hard, so don't worry if you can't get it, but let's just see. I'll tell you what, if you distract yourself and you think about this shoulder and this hand, then you'll allow me. Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah. We hold on to ourselves such a lot, don't we? We really, really do. Okay, I'm going to just straighten you here. Might be easier if I first bend your legs. I'll do it for you. So let go of that tension that you introduced. It's that gripping, you see. We're all hanging onto ourselves quite intensely.
I didn't realize how much I do.
I know. Nobody does. And even us Alexander teachers who've been at it all our lives, we're still doing that because it's the human condition, isn't it?
It is.
But we have given ourselves choice. If we want to come out of it, we know the means whereby for coming out of it.
Correct.
And that is what I'm teaching you now. Like, if you choose to not be in your habit, this is how to go about it. Okay?
Yes.
So you don't want to impose this. This isn't about being some kind of soldier with, military bearing or having like amazing posture. This is about being soft and gentle with yourself, reducing your tension levels, being more comfortable in your own body, and having a better coordination between the psychophysical. And then for us, because we're into healing, it's not only the psychophysical but also the energetic as well.
Correct.
And if we're all tight in our bodies, we cannot have the correct flow of energy through our systems. And this is just a fact. And so the Alexander Technique is just this extraordinary platform for getting us set up for energy work. And it's how I got so sensitive to everything that wasn't the material world, was because I was able to inhibit my own patterns and allow a different experience of the world.
It's amazing.
There we go. Lovely.
That feels very good.
It does. Wait for this one where I lengthen your back. This one's lovely. But only if you know how to do it should you do that one. Because you can hurt yourself if you don't handle people correctly. Just get this. I get things straightened. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. I'll worry about your hands. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. That's it. So you get very awkward in your arms and hands, don't you?
I do.
When you walk into a room with people you don't know, do you wonder what to do with your arms?
Yes. And I tense up.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way to deal with this in the beginning, as you're lying here, and this we call this position semi-supine, is to get in touch with the weight-bearing points. So obviously over here is a weight-bearing point where you're lying on the table here, across there, and then across your back, across your upper back, that's a weight-bearing point. At your feet, at your heels,
Yes.
they're weight-bearing. That's it. And then the back of your head is weight-bearing, taking the weight to the supporting surface, and then also your elbows. If you just let the weight be conducted to the weight-bearing points that then conduct your weight to the supporting surface, which is the table, then you will be in good shape. Isn't that great?
It's nice. You can really feel the release.
And if you do this 10 to 15 minutes every single day, your back will change, your brain will change. You'll get a base level of functioning that's very different from if you don't do it. That's very nice. And again, I can look at you and I can watch your eyes and I can see that you are experiencing quite a lot, and it's like you're listening to what's going on inside you, because I can see that from the way your eyes are moving, and that's how your attention is. It's nice, isn't it?
It is nice.
It's a kind of meditation, but it's not an alpha brainwave state. It's the Alexander Technique brainwave state called inhibition, where you're just calming everything. All the noise is getting softer and quieter. It's lovely.
It is lovely.
And notice how relaxed your hands and arms are at this minute, really different from your habits. It's delicious. So this is pretty much what we're heading for when we do table work, is this nice calm state that you're in. And I want you just to take a moment and see if you can hear the ambient noise in the room more clearly.
I can.
That's one of the things I noticed with the Alexander Technique, is that the senses are very brightened. By calming the internal noise, the internal overstimulation, our senses get very brightened. People get up off the table, they say, oh, everything's brighter. Did the sun come out? Things like
I
that.
was going to say that looks brighter.
Yes.
Just as I'm laying here.
Yes. Then when you add onto that the energetic work, you get another layer of that experience of the brightness and so on, which is also very strong and palpable. It's very good. Now you see something very ideal is happening, Diane. I'm most pleased. And that is that you're allowing your hands to be moved by the movement of your rib cage as you breathe. And that is always a helpful direction for people. Isn't that nice to feel yourself breathing like that? So gentle and easy.
Become aware.
Yes.
I really am aware of everything that's going on.
In a nice way.
Yes. In my muscles and just in my body.
And your eyes are open. You see, people want to close their eyes because they think then they can attend better. But really what we're trying to do is expand our attention, not narrow our attention. So we don't want to close off any senses. Keeping the eyes open is quite important in the Alexander technique. But when we're going for the healing work, then you want the eyes closed, and you do want the alpha brainwave state, and even slower than that for healing work. So this is specifically for the Alexander technique, right? So then what we do is we go around the whole system, releasing and lengthening the muscles. We do the legs. So here your leg is holding tight. Let the hip joint roll. That's right. Just let the leg roll in the hip joint. That's it. More. Just let it go. You're holding on. There you go. Just keep going. And now it's going to feel like I'm pulling your leg, but I promise I'm not. It just feels that way because I'm going to stimulate the leg muscles to lengthen, to release and lengthen. That's nice. Good. Isn't that interesting?
Feels good.
What do you feel?
Feel.
It's hard to put into
It is
words.
hard
Just
to
give
put
it
into words.
give it a try. Yeah, it's very hard to
It
articulate.
almost feels like my legs are putty, if you will. I know that
Yeah,
sounds
like
crazy.
a soft
It's just yes,
flexibility.
Like-
yeah,
like feel like things are flowing better. Like
exactly. Yes, because they are. Now I'll show you something really neat. We've done one leg and not the other, so now you'll be able to compare. Just let go the tension that you took back. That's it. Now compare your two legs.
the one you were working on feels lighter, tingly again, like it's flowing, like it's been opened and released, like I could
Yes.
feel a nice flowing movement.
Right, so if you have to think which leg is going to have energy flowing through it, it's going to be the right leg, the
Right
one that
leg.
was released, where the
Yes.
muscles aren't so tense and
Yes.
gripped anymore. Exactly correct.
Yes.
Good. So now let's even you up and do this leg. I'll do it. Let go. Let me take the weight. Let it drop. A little bit difficult, huh?
Yes.
I'll tell you who has the most difficulty letting go of their arms and legs is teachers and nurses. Those two professions. Getting them to let go of their arms and legs and allowing them to get a rest from running the show, as it were,
Yes.
and working so hard is very, very hard. So here, the camera will be able to pick this up when you do manage to release. You're going to let your leg roll outwards at the hip joint. That's right. That's it. That's it. But there's more. There's a lot more. Let it flop.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You're still gripping. You're still feeding it out. Let it go. Let it go. There's more. You got it. See? It's very clear when it
Yes.
happens, isn't it? It
Yes.
is not subtle. It is not subtle. It's subtle to watch. It is not subtle to experience at all. Right, so this is where you got huge amounts of tension. It's in your leg muscles. And so does everyone. We stand on our legs. Our poor legs are having to work so hard all the time. That's lovely. You see, that's going all the way up to your head.
Yes.
Tell us where you can feel this.
I can feel it going up.
Yes.
Literally all the way up.
Yes.
Like it's releasing.
That's exactly
out.
right. That's exactly right. Excellent.
Amazing.
Isn't it fabulous?
It is. It's amazing.
All right, here we go with the leg lengthening again. So I have to make sure that I'm correctly connected into you. There, I've got it. There we are. Here we go. Beautiful. Isn't it delish?
It is. And I tend to get in my calves.
Yes, they grip up.
I do, like almost, I get a Charlie horse, a spasm
Yes.
a lot of times. So this will be wonderful to.
Well, see, it's easy for me to know that that's the case because arms and legs go together. And before we began, your arms were just kept bending and tightening and holding so much habitual tension. So if your arms are doing that, you can be guaranteed your legs are doing that even more. And they resonate with each other, you see. So look at that release.
I can feel it.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
And the way that I get that, see, I'm putting the heels of my hands into the bones of your legs and explaining to the tissue, let go of the bones. You're gripping the bones too hard. That's what I've been explaining with my neuromuscular system to your neuromuscular system. You can see how that launched me into energy work.
Yes.
By being able to have that level of clarity about what's going on in somebody else's physical, psychophysical being. And so, of course, the energy was going to come too. That's great. Oh my, look at that. Yeah, yes. It makes one smile, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, there you are, all one piece. And you see the reason that this feels so, and I'm going to use the word peaceful. Is it fair to use the word peaceful?
Yes, definitely.
That's good. The reason it feels so peaceful is because it's so calming, and all of you is doing the same thing of being here now, all at the same time.
Yes.
Your brain is engaged, your emotional system is engaged, your neurology is engaged. It's all engaged in this one thing that we're doing now, currently called the Alexander Technique, exploring kinesthetic awareness. Excellent. So after we've done the legs, we move on. Put this bolster under your knees. So just take your knees back towards your chest. That's right. Lift your heels a bit. Thank you. Perfect. And then we set you up on the bolster. You know what? Your legs are a bit longer than I expected. Just lift up again. That's it. That will work. All right. To straighten the clothes, it's to help my eye because I do have to be able to see alignment specifically. And if clothes are twisted and so on, I can't see the alignment as clearly. All right, that's it. Lovely. Now it is so interesting that you're right-handed or you're left-handed.
Right-handed.
So your left leg is more tense than your right leg, which is unusual for a right-handed person. Is this knee still sore? Remember last demo we
A little bit.
Okay, so maybe it's
not
from
as
the
badly.
fall.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. And otherwise, actually, this is an injury, an athletic injury, as your leg just told me. What athletics did you do as a child?
Volleyball, basketball, softball.
Yeah, so it's
tennis.
you jammed this leg one day, and it's still got a bit of shock in it. So that's something we can take out both with the Alexander technique and with the healing work. And what's best is to do the combo. We're not going to do it now, but it's a pattern that's imprinted itself on your leg, and that can also be released. Both, in this instance, either with Alexander technique or energy work, best to do it with both, because then you're going to get all the layers. But we're working with the 3 layers: body, mind, and spirit. There's no separation between them, but there are different zones of vibrational frequency. They are supposed to connect and align and work very, very harmoniously together in order to get the best coordination. So that's what we're looking at here. So from doing the legs, then we move over and we do the shoulders and the arms and the head. I'll just continue with that because you've got such a tight neck that this will be very meaningful for you. It's too nice, isn't it?
It is.
It really is too nice. And it's that softness. You see, that doesn't have to be tense. It can be soft. There you go. That's just lovely. Right.
It's a great meditation, even though it's not
Strictly speaking,
strictly.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a meditation with a difference.
Yes, but it makes you aware, and it almost, by making you aware, it puts you in the zone.
It makes you aware and puts you in the zone. These are all correct observations, really, really good observations. And don't you feel much more sensitive and open now?
Yes.
And that's the reason why we're doing this. Aha. Did you feel it?
I did. I did.
Yeah, so what happened was her shoulder just released a lot of tension in the muscles between the shoulder blade and the rib cage. And that gives you that beautiful released feeling.
That's where I have a lot of trouble.
Yes, I can tell. I'm not surprised. So now I'm just going to take the head. And in Alexander technique, the head-neck-back relationship is called the primary control because the tone and quality and functional capacity of the head-neck-back relationship leads the entire tone and functionality and coordination of the entire psychophysical system. So if we improve the head-neck-back relationship, we improve everything. That's it. If you are doing a somersault or a dive, anything, those athletes know the head leads. If you want to do a somersault, you don't do anything with your legs. You tuck your head and your chin in, and that leads your entire spine and coordination into the somersault. But it's the same with everything. If you want to walk, if you want to sit, your head leads. And if we can up the functioning of the head's balance on the neck and the way that is all coordinated, and especially if we can release all the habits that interfere with our postural reflexes, oh my goodness, we get such a great effect from that. And it ranges from extremely excellent athletic performance for musicians and actors for their performance, but also just keeping you safe in daily life. I had a client back in South Africa, and she was visiting her son who was studying in San Francisco. And she was on the cable car, and the cable car fell off the cable. And she thought of her Alexander technique, and she just released in herself and softened. The car crashed to the ground. People broke bones, they were bruised, the ambulances had to come. And this was a woman, she was in her late 70s. She said her knees just gave way, she crumpled to the floor, and after the cable car landed, she was 100% fine, not a scratch or a bruise, and she walked away as quickly as she could so she wouldn't get caught in the emergency services and the police and the
Sure.
reporting and everything.
Wow.
And she was untouched because in that moment of the cable car coming down off the cable, she remembered her Alexander technique. And I know many stories like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's that presence of mind, you see, and then that coordination immediately that goes in.
Yes.
And that's what we're learning here in the Alexander technique. Oh, look how warm your hands are. relaxed. That's great. Any questions?
So when we're working on someone with crystals, this is what we would want to look at
In
the
yourself.
alignment, look at in myself, and then which then will help me to look at them.
Yes, we're going to
and
take
it's
it
their
in.
mind.
We should do that in the next demo. We're going to look at how this goes into the application when you're working on someone. We won't be able to do today, in today's recordings, we won't be able to do in person because we don't have a third person here. So we'll have to save that for next time. But what we can do is how this applies in remote work,
Okay,
which is very, very useful, and it will be very, very helpful to you.
great.
Okay?
Great. Thank you.
That's really good. So this is something to do, to lie down in semi-supine for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes every day. Sometimes you can do it more than once a day if you want to. And it's a good way to prep before you do a session. So I know you have one this afternoon
I do.
with a practice partner. And she happens to be an Alexander Technique teacher, that
Okay.
practice partner.
Okay.
And you will find a big difference in your practice session. And I want you to make notes
Okay.
about the difference that you experience in the practice session after today's demos and learning. Because this is learning that takes hold immediately and has effect immediately. There's no waiting. This is it. It's a door opener, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. It's a whole
It is.
other
I can't even
world.
yes. As I'm laying here, I could feel my shoulders starting to tense. So
And that's the
was able then
self-awareness.
just to relax it.
Yes.
Yes.
And all you have to do is think about
Just
it.
think about it.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's great.
How wonderful. Great.